if I take a step back, we have something called control plane policing. Control plane policing has been around for a while, but the Nexus 7000 and other Nexus platforms have implemented policy as it relates to best practices on how to implement policy from a control plane perspective, because everything runs on the supervisor module. Now, if I look at the Nexus 7000 in the default VDC, or the admin VDC, I'm going to do a show hardware internal CPU MAC in-band statistics. So the thing I want to call out here is when events happen in the network, on this device I can see on the receive side I hit a new threshold of 12,500. What the point here is there is an event based upon show hardware internal CPU MAC in-band events. So here's statistics. This is showing me that I hit a new maximum threshold. What this is saying is, hey, there is an event that was logged. I now have a timestamp of this new threshold that has been hit. So I can do event correlation on events that are happening across my network in the data center. So if I look at it, I can do show hardware internal CPU MAC in-band statistics, and I want to pipe it to begin with the throttle. So again, I'm seeing a new throttle statistic that I hit on the receive side. So I'm receiving this traffic, I hit a new maximum. So now I'm going to go ahead and issue show hardware internal CPU MAC in-band events. And these commands you can go ahead and run, but the thing to call out here is I have another event that happened. I now have a timestamp that happened for this new maximum that happened here. So I now have a timestamp of this time and date, and I can do event correlation to go ahead and figure out what is happening on my network. So troubleshooting example, syslog messages to monitor cop drop events enforced by control plane policing. This started in NXOS version 5.1. So now what we can do is we can specify a logging drop threshold for a specific event. So I can start getting syslog messages and events based upon certain thresholds or classes that I deem to be important. Maybe I have a customized cop policy and I can go ahead and monitor and provide control plane policing events and monitor and have action upon them. And then I can also look at cop counters. So if I do a show policy map interface control plane, I can go ahead and get specific violations. Because what happens to the violations? I'm dropping them. So this is on module 1. And on module 2, I also have violations, and it's dropping them. Sometimes, depending on your environment, you need to modify the cop policy, and in the security section, I have examples on how to monitor cop policy. But here, it's important to call out, we can see different cop information, control plane policing events that's happening based upon the policy of a given class. So this is the amount of traffic that is conformed, and I'm going to actually permit or transmit that traffic. And then a violation based upon my policy, I'm going to go ahead and drop that information. And we also have use cases for embedded event manager from a troubleshooting perspective. So here I want to monitor the Nexus 7000 CPU. Here's a script that I wrote for a customer that leverages embedded event manager that says, hey, I want to detect high CPU, or at least I want to have some sort of trigger that I hit a certain threshold. Here's the SNMP OID to go ahead and pull and get the exact interval of 1 second. I now have an action to do a syslog that says, hey, I detected high CPU. So in the event that I have a high CPU, based upon the event defined here, I now have a syslog, high CPU detected, and I also wrote it to boot flash high CPU.txt. So I can go ahead and verify different events that have happened based upon this string, so I can detect and get information based upon a timestamp when I hit a high CPU threshold, whatever we deem to be the interval. And then here's the actual syslog message that's written, CPU detected, and I'm going to go ahead and show the process CPU sort to boot flash. And here's the actual file that will be written to boot flash. And then we also have an iOS to NXOS conversion tool. And what this allows you to do, since the NXOS is different, we can convert your iOS configuration to NXOS. And here's the tool that's available on Cisco.com. So I can migrate my iOS devices to my Nexus devices.